Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Narrowway Ministry Podcast. Welcome to the middle of this chaos. I have my two dogs behind me. Had to bring them in. Can you see him down there? That's Zeusy. You're a good boy. So they're in their kennel because it's like 5 degrees outside. And we brought them in because, it's just too cold. I don't generally like animals in the house, but you got them, you got to take care of them, right? So there he is. so now, so now we're gonna have the grandfather clock back here chiming in. That's dead, by the way, so it ain't gonna be chiming in. I let it go. I gotta reset it. What you call it? And you go have eyeballs right here. Oh man, I can't do anything professionally. But to get started, um, you could see this in the background. Uh, this little brown thing right here. We were recording I forget what it was, but the sunlight was coming in, and from the snow being so white, the snow blindness they call it. They It was just impossible, so that's what we put up there for the time being. So no, this ain't Dexter's kill room. You know what I mean? We don't. This ain't. But anyway, I jest and digress. So to serious it up a little bit more. We are going to start with prayer, and then when we get into what we're going to talk about. Our dear Heavenly Father, I come to you in prayer, Lord, and I ask that you give me the words that I need to say in this very sensitive topic, Lord, and bring comfort to the people that it affects, specifically at this time of year. Lord, and just give everybody travel and mercy, and that my voice may bring peace to them, Lord, that need peace. And even if it's, Lord, even if it puts them to sleep, if I can help anybody in any way with the stress and anxiety and depression, and the holidays and all that, Lord, you understand. And Lord, I bring all this to your glory, Lord. I don't do anything for myself. I don't pastor the church for my glory, Lord. I don't. I'm not the chaplain of the police department for my glory, Lord. I do everything for your glory. And Lord, I could work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and never pay you for what you've done to me. And all these things I ask for prayer for everybody, and I ask in your name, Lord. You are our intercessor, Lord, and I'm thankful for that. In Jesus' holy name I pray, amen. All right. So what may be different than what you're used to with these is the fact that A, I'm not scripted. I have no idea what I'm going to say. And B, um, I, um, I like that approach better. It makes it more realistic. Um, it makes it more thorough. It makes it more raw and real. Um, and again, I don't do anything for my glory. I don't do anything for recognition for myself. If anybody knows me, they know that I do not like the camera, right? And I dislike social media. But here I am, and I'm doing it for God. And having said that, and the prayer, you may see some people with podcasts that do or may not, but generally don't pray before each one. I pray before every single one. I'm not ashamed to pray in public. I'm not ashamed to claim my Savior in public. Neither is Zeus. Look at him back here. Well, he may be a little bit. Jamie, I know you're on here. You see him? You want him? Come get him. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Look at him. Oh, man. Not your typical podcast. Ain't that right? No? He's looking at me like he's going to eat me. But I like doing it better this way. That's the way I've always been, and I always will be. I'm real. I'm raw. Really. I don't script. I think it's fake. What you see is what you get with me. What I say is what I mean. I don't pretty it up for anybody. I don't. I'm not concerned with that. I'm not concerned with the lighting and I used to be a little bit, and I kind of still am, but I've come to realize with these big windshields that I have for glasses, it kind of messes me up a little bit. But again, I don't do any of this for my glory and my goal. Honestly, it's hard when you do these podcasts, and they get uploaded to Spotify and Apple, and nobody watches them, and nobody listens to them. There are very few that do. Browning does, and a few others. But what I'm saying is compared to today's audience for podcasts, I'm nothing. And sometimes you sit and think, you're like, why do I keep doing this? This isn't easy stuff. And not only do I do this, but I'm a chaplain, I'm a pastor, I'm a father. I have a job. So this is hard, and I wonder why I keep doing it, really. But then I think, I'm not doing it for me and for numbers, right? I'm not doing it so I can say, hey, everybody, look at me. I have however many followers or whatever they're called. I don't know. Anyway, subscribers, whatever. I don't know. I do it for the Lord. If there is absolutely no other purpose than for one person to get saved, watching the stuff that I do, then I'm happy with it. I'm happy with playing a small part in the Lord's kingdom. I don't have to do this big, grandiose, Billy Graham type ministry. And I do everything for the glory of God. And having said that, I went down to the church Sunday, and I was the only one down there. It was cold, and that ain't the congregation that I'd asked them to stay home. But why did I go? Well, there's been a woman down there. She walks the street, if you will. I'm not going to go any further into that. It's nobody's business. But she has been coming to church, and I wanted to make sure that if she came there in the cold, A, she would have a place warm to go, and B, I want to be there in case that day was the day that she chose to come to the Lord. I couldn't live with myself if I knew that she was down there waiting, thinking, hurry up, Pastor, I want to get saved, and then me never show up. So I went down there and braved the cold for a little while. But I want to go ahead and get into the content of this podcast. It's going to be rough, but I come at it with personal experience. All of us do. The 2.75 people watching on Facebook, they've been through it. Everybody that may eventually listen to this or not goes through it. Hey, it's got to be Marsha. I haven't seen y'all in a while. We have started doing our church on Wednesdays, and I'm sorry. I got to bring George's Bible. I haven't forgot. Don't let him come beat me up. Tell him I am going to bring it to him. I've got it set aside and put up for him. I haven't forgot. But anyway, I want to get into the what I'm talking about. And wintertime, you have a lot of holidays that come all at once. You have Halloween, really, that doesn't matter. But you got Thanksgiving. Why is Thanksgiving important? Thanksgiving is when you and your family get together and eat, or at least should. But, then you got Christmas, and then you got New Year's. And Christmas is a very family-oriented holiday, right? So is New Year's. Well, it should be. Up until recently, New Year's was just another day for me to go out and get drunk. But now it's a way to be at home where a man belongs with his family. And I ring in, if they, as they say, the new year with my family, my wife, and if my son, if I can get him here, and my daughter. But it's family oriented. You have your family there. You have your family there in Christmas, and even if your parents can't get you a lot, as long as they love you and they try, you got your family there for that. Thanksgiving, very big family holiday. And I say all that to say this. A lot of people don't understand why I say, when I say, they don't understand that this time of year is very, the rate of suicide is very high this time of year. And there's a lot of factors that contribute to that. It's doom and gloom, it's gray, rainy, snowy, cold. You don't want to really go out. You get stuck in the house. It's just, and how the people that are listening now or maybe later, how many, you look outside and you're like, man, this rain is depressing me, and that's what I'm talking about. Now, that can be expounded. That feeling can be expounded for the fact that when you lose somebody during the holiday. And the reason I say during the holiday is, it doesn't matter when you lose them. You're going to feel it during the holiday. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying if you didn't lose a loved one right when I'm talking about that it doesn't matter. No, it's incorrect. I'm saying that it is when you lose somebody during the holiday season, you begin to associate that holiday with loss. You begin to associate that holiday with your dad not being there anymore, your grandma, your mom, your wife, your husband, and it it ruins the holiday. So not only are you reminded every year when it comes, you don't get excited for Christmas. When you think of Christmas and you start hearing the Christmas carols and all this other stuff, the first thing that comes to your mind is who you lost and how they aren't going to be with you this holiday and what it's like to be alone and what it's like to feel that loss. And those of you that can understand and know what I'm saying, you can be in a room full of people and be alone. You could be in a stadium full of people and you're alone. You could be in the middle of a conversation with somebody and you feel alone. You don't even feel, you're detached, you're disengaged. So disengagement, when you see it, and I'll give you a short example of it, but disengagement, when you see it, is similar to what I'm going to do is, if you see somebody doing this, and they're stationary for a while, and they're just staring off. They're disengaged from reality. They're separated from the moment. And a lot of people, I'm bad for it. Now, I do it when I drive, which is very safe, but I can't control when I do it. But we've all lost somebody, and the holidays can be depressing. People suffer from mental health, and it's almost like a stigma, right? In society, you're automatically written off as crazy, as weak, as all these other things. People suffer. They suffer. And a lot of people like to cast judgment on individuals that may it's like a permanent solution to a temporary problem, right? And a lot of people cast judgment on that. And they're not in the right state of mind when that happens. You can't be. And how do I know that? Because I was there, right? I've just recently started talking about it. And, I'm secure in my masculinity. If you think it makes me soft or weak, coward, scared, um, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I know how I move and what I do and what I've done. I'm not weak nor a coward, and I think it makes you stronger when you come out and you say it, right? And it really, you start, and it's starting to take hold within my line of work where these guys are starting to say, man, he's right. I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling that way. I thought I was the only one. It is very important that we talk to each other about that stuff. It's very important because it could be somebody that you don't expect it to be, you know? And they always give us signs like in law enforcement. Why do we have a class on suicide? The rate of suicide in law enforcement is astronomical, along with divorce, along with alcoholism, um, all that astronomical. And I know a lot of people don't like the police. I know they don't. And there are some people that give you a reason not to like the police. I mean, let's just be real about it. I mean, I've ran across several of them that I've had to correct. I'm in a position of leadership within my department, and I've had to stop people and be like, dude, you shouldn't talk to them any way you feel because they can't retaliate. That makes you weak. You can't hide behind that badge. And me and my cousin James, he's on here. We've always talked about it, but we can't go too far into it. Yeah, so don't be putting nothing on there. Let's just say that I want the kind to run from a fight, right? Anyway, I don't care what people think of me. Do not care. And I don't know that y'all are aware. And Marcia, I love you and George to death, and but there's no foul language on here. I wouldn't do it anyway, but I like to be real and 100% no matter what. Um, be it no script for this. I don't have them. I don't have a teleprompter. One, I'm not like that. Like I'm not into it like that. And but it's fake, It's fake. It's fake when you got somebody reading off a screen. You're like, I mean, who even prepared that? Did you prepare it or did somebody else? You don't see anything in here but a mess, right? Like it's not scripted. That's why I get on here and say like completely random dumb things because but to get back on the point, there are signs that they tell us to look out for and our friends in law enforcement for mental emergencies. And one of them that you can watch for is them giving away their items, right? If you say, for example, like fishing, if I like fishing, or your husband, your boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, whoever in your family, it doesn't matter. If they like fishing a lot, and then they holler at you and they're like, hey, you fish, right? And you're like, yeah. And then they'll ask you, hey, you want this fishing pole? And you're like, what do you mean? Man, I ain't buying that. And they're, no, I'm giving it away. And at first you're like, what? But that is your common sense, like kicking you in the mouth, right? Yeah, that's your common sense saying, hey, dummy, ask him a question, right? Ask him if he's okay. Why is he giving you, instead of the typical male garbage, of you're too tough to ask. So then you let him, right? Next thing you know, he's like, hey, man, I got these clothes or this, I got a couple of these rifles, man. You want them? I'm just giving them away. Or, um, I got all, whatever it is they collect, whatever it is. It could be anything that is very obvious to you that they should not be given away. That should draw your attention. And then you don't ask him any questions. You don't ask them why. You either don't ask them why because you don't care, to be real, or you aren't thinking of it that way. And then the next thing you know, they're gone. And you sit back and you're like, man, I should have saw that coming. But and again, I'm very sensitive on what I'm saying. I'm really trying to like through my mind like categorize and part like and divide and make sure I don't say anything. Um, and I'm not going to say why besides the people that do know why I'm very protective um, um, of y'all know who I'm talking about. I'm very protective, and I'm not going to disrespect or bring any attention or say anything out of the way. It's not my business. But I y'all know what I'm saying. I'll leave it at that. But you know, it's very hard. It is hard to talk about. Like this, if you're listening to it and that's happened to you, the rest of the evening may ruin it, And that was not my intention. My intention is coming at you from a place where I have too, right? I've lost too. I've had, I think, 3 friends that have killed themselves, um, and I've seen it. And so I understand that, but I also understand from like a boots on the ground level of stress and depression. Y'all see these cops out there and y'all think, man, these guys are robots, right? These guys are tough. They're mean. They, every single one of them is having problems. And I say that because they have to deal with everybody's drama. They have to deal with everybody's issues. And then they get home and can't deal with their own. And, they got people, and I've always said it, you got people in the street, and law enforcement, especially in Bluefield, you have to know what I mean by that, right? The way I've always approached people and the way I've always said it was, they want to throw a cell phone up in your face after they spit on you. Now, you take any real dude out on the street and you spit on him. What is he going to do? You know what he's going to do. So how is that different from spitting on a cop? You're spitting on a man, right? What makes you think that he should have to take that? And I'm not saying y'all have done it, or y'all legit, but I'm saying that when you spit on a grown man and then throw your phone up in the face, man, that's weak. That's what cops have to deal with. They cannot retaliate like a normal man would. Or a chick. I mean, anybody listening, Aunt Helen or Haley, Mom, and Marsha, I would certainly hope nobody would spit on you. But, Aunt Helen, if somebody come up and spit on y'all, you're going to fight. Or you should. I mean, if you let somebody spit on you and then just keep pushing, that's on you. There ain't no way. But what I'm saying is they take that stress and they take it home. They're mad. They're, you can't come up and I'm trying to be careful with what I say, but I'm not, it's kind of like as a man, another gentleman comes up and you're with your wife and he comes up and just decides he's going to kiss her, and then you just got to take that. In your mind, the word you hear is punk, right? I'm a punk. I have to take that. When you get cussed out or, intentionally disrespected on the street as a policeman, that's what they think of you. They think that you're a punk. But the OGs, they know, at least some of us aren't punks. It's just a job that we have to do. But anyway, I'll be glad when I'm done with it. Oh, there's Larry. Oh, hi, Helen. But I'll be glad when I'm done with it. And I mean, I'm over it. It's I've been shot at. I've been stabbed. My legs have been run over by a car chases, fist fights, people spitting on me, biting me, kicking me, punching me. Um, I'm over it. And Jamie, well, that's what we call him, but he's he rode with me a few times, and dude's eyes were like wide. He's like, "Oh my gosh, it's a whole different world out there when you're in a uniform." It really is. It's wild, wild west back then, anyway. But so the police take that home, and the poor wife catches the brunt end of it, and they're just waiting on their daddy to get home. The kids, she's just waiting on her husband to get home. I know if you got a wife or husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is, you're excited about them coming home from work, or you should be. I'm sure when your boyfriend or your husband pulls up, you see him pull up, and you're like, oh, you like been waiting on him all day. And I hope that continues, and it's not a newlywed thing, because as you progress, you're just like you can tell the sound of the car, and you're like, you don't, but that's a part of, like, Brittany and I have been together for a minute, like 15 years total, and that's how we are, you know, and but she's been through it with me. She's a soldier. She really is, in all senses of the word. Um, it's the Lord has taken me from, y'all wouldn't believe. Y'all would not believe. But anyway, so you take all this stuff home, and the wife that's excited to see you meets you at the door, gives you a hug, tries to give you a kiss, and y'all let me know if, like, you know what I'm talking about. Girls, same. I mean, if you're you come home and your man's like waiting to give you a kiss or whatever, or give you a hug, and you come in, or they come in, your wife goes to come in, your husband comes in, and you go to hug them and kiss them, and they're just kind of like that, you're trying to hug them and give them a kiss on the cheek, the mouth, whatever, and they kind of just lean back, and then you're like, immediately in your mind, you're like, why, what's that about, you know, um, and I do it a lot, or I used to. Um, I wouldn't speak to her. Um, I was rough, I mean, I've always been rough, but, unkind. Um, Larry says I can't say the D word, with the bag at the end of it, but that's what I was. And she put up with all of it because she knew the real me was in there somewhere, right? She knew the me that she fell in love with was in there. And I finally realized that because I have to have medicine did not make me weak. I am on medicine. And if I do not take it, you can tell. I mean, it's wild. But I'm on medicine. It's antidepressant, anti-anxiety. You know, I think all of us have been depressed at one point or another. And it's sad. And if you look at somebody, right, and it's a girl, and you look, and she's in her pajamas. You come home from work, she's in her pajamas. She ain't clean nothing. Um, Come home from work, she's in the same pajamas, ain't fixed her hair, don't smell good, don't have perfume on, ain't clean nothing. You come home again, same situation. She's not lazy. There's more to that. When you get to a point to where you're that depressed, getting up and taking a shower is painful. It feels like the end of the world. It feels like, man, I would rather somebody just kill me. I don't want to get up and shower. Y'all, I hope you understand. Well, I really hope you don't know what that feels like. But you're laying on the bed, you're laying on the couch, and you're just like, man, I stink. I've got to get a shower. And you finally get up and get a shower, and it's like you're rushing. And then you jump right back in the bed like something's after you. And then you're just gone to the world. And if you see that in your significant other, um, try to talk about it. Sometimes it's all well and good. Sometimes it hits you out of nowhere. Sometimes you have no idea. You know, sometimes you couldn't have known. I'm not on here saying that you should be judged for not knowing. It's not correct. I'm not saying that. Sometimes you just don't know. And, I honestly, I sat and to get, a little personal, I sat and I would blame my father um, for what happened, and I'm not going to embarrass the man, drag his name through the mud. But, we all, I think everybody here is pretty much family that understands and knows anyway. But I was always selfish. I was always like, man, you know, I'm not answering the phone. Um, I don't want to get cussed out again. You know, um, I'm not answering the phone. I'm not, you know, and I thought, man, and I was selfish. I was like, man, this dude, and I was calling him selfish, you know, and even as a young man growing up, I was 20 something when my dad, passed away. I can't even remember. It was 2013. I don't even know what year it is, but I'm like Robin Williams and Jumanji. But, you know, I I got mad at him like when it come time for like certain things that a father should be there for his son, he wasn't there. And I'd get mad at him. I'm like, man, you just keep on being selfish, right? That's all you've ever been. And I would think to myself that. But in my arrogance, I did not think, what was he going through? You know, that led him down the road he was going down. What was he going through? And selfishly, I didn't care, I guess. I did, but I didn't. Like I didn't think of it. Y'all know what I'm talking about, but that was you can act tough all you want. It hits different when your dad is gone, um, and you're a boy, as opposed to it's different feeling with your mom, um, and I mean, I know Jamie lost his father, Debbie lost her husband, my uncle, Haley's. Don't tell me. Jamie, tell me if I'm right, but don't give me the answer yet. Poppy, Pappy, Pappy or Poppy. It's one of those two. I get credit if it's one of those two. But that was hard for her. And I'm sure to this day it breaks her heart. And I'm sure today it breaks Jamie's heart and Debbie's, naturally. And that now it goes for all of, you know, the kids. And that was their grandpa. That was their. I mean, it might have been like their dad to them. I don't know. And I don't want to go too much further into one specific person. Because Haley be on here crying and we can't have that. Don't want to make her cry. So we've got to look out for each other. We've got to understand that there's nothing that makes us as men, there's nothing that makes us cowardly to when we ask about that, when we ask how we're doing. Now, I've started that conversation in the police department. My goal is to help these guys that are in mental emergencies, and to help them before it's too late. That's a very high risk in law enforcement, is suicide. And I came very close. Again, I'm real about it. It and if it wasn't for my kids, it was a wrap. You know what I mean? I just when you get to the point, y'all may know what I'm talking about. I hope you don't, but I kind of, if you do, you can relate. You just are tired. You wake up and you're just like, how much longer do I have to go? Like, I mean, how long does this life last? You're tired. Nothing's ever easy. You fight for everything. You can't pay your bills. You're eating like water in your cereal with sugar, and y'all think that's a joke on Friday. And I know a lot of people think that. They're like, man, that ain't real. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, you better throw some water on that. But anyway, but that's real. So people, you go through that, and you're just like, man, this is such a struggle, day in and day out. It is hard. Then you go to work and you're getting cussed out by everybody, which, you get used to. I've been called everything but my name. And, you get people that's trying to hurt you physically, like kill you, right? And it's real big for people to say things that, oh, what up, Davis? It's easy for people to say things that denigrate or they personally attack law enforcement, again, because they can say it and then run, right? They're punks. And that's not what I'm talking about. But that's the reason for it. And there are policemen that still today are too masculine, if you will, to admit when they need mental help. And I've never been soft, if you will, like I said. And I'm saying that I went through it. And I was so close, it was scary. It was fueled by 4 or 5 bottle. What up? I see you. 4 or 5 bottles of bourbon a week, if not more. And every evening I got drunk, I would inch a little bit closer to that gun, right? Until it progressed to the part where I was like, it wasn't even like an option, if you will. It was a decision. It was not thinking, should I do it? But, okay, these are the consequences of when I do it, right? And it was just my kids, and I'm past that part in my life. My faith has really helped. I think medicine is necessary. It's a good thing, but if you can do without it, you should try, right? But only if you can. And through my faith, I have cut way back on my medicine. And, now I got a whole other set of problems that, I might end up right back on it. But, the church issues but when we have these holidays, we think about if we've lost somebody throughout the year, we're going to think of them regardless. But if you lose them right during the holiday, I mean, it's what you associate it with. Like you could be a person that loved Christmas. I love Christmas, but it's really hard for me because my grandma, and everybody knew how she was about her Christmas lights and, getting ready. And, me and her and a few other people, we'd watch like, Christmas in July kind of thing. So she died, right, around the same time my dad died. Now the next year, right, in 14. That one was bad. And I don't remember a lot about my dad's funeral. Really, I do more than my grandma's. I couldn't even tell you where it was. I mean, I was there, but I had wiped that completely out of my mind. Can't tell you what she was wearing. I know me and Jamie were sitting beside each other, and I do remember Squire Parsons was being played, Beulah Land, and me and him did the exact same thing. We bowed our head and we covered our ears because we didn't want to hear it, and it was hard, and that's really all I remember, and it ruined Christmas for me. I got to thinking, I'm like, man, I'd call Mama, and I'd be like, what are you doing? Or she'd call me. She'd be like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm going through my Christmas stuff, right? And we'd be sitting there talking about it, and then she'd say, come, we need to go through my lights, get them out, and make sure they're all working. And I'd be like, oh no, yeah, your fingers would be sore, but from the lights. But it's it ruined Christmas for a little while, and so I lost my dad, and I'm gonna say me, but we all, Christy, Anna, Mom, Debbie, Haley, Jamie. I mean, anybody watching Anna. Did I say Anna, Christy? I don't know. I don't even know where Larry. Um, when I say just take it as me, meaning we. So I lost my dad at, and then the next year. So back up before that. Um, my Davis will remember, Jamie will remember. Um, if Mardella's on here, she'll remember. But anyway, John Jones, right? So he dies in 2009, and then it's a blur from there. I couldn't tell you. Um, we around that same time we had a dispatcher, Leo. We were really close with, dude from Jersey, huge man, and I loved him. Um, and you know he died, right? And we were really close. And Davis, by the way, they took that black ribbon down, um, off the dispatch wall, that we hung up in there. But anyway, I guess they just want to forget about him. But anyway, so he lost his life and heart attack, and they tried to work on him. I mean, bless their heart, they did. And so he died. I can't remember, and it's not because I don't love these people. It's just that I'm old and senile, and um, like halfway in the nursing home now. But um, he died sometime in 10 or 11. Um, then our buddy, Joey Stone, passed away. Um, then my grandma died in 2012. And now we sprinkle some family all in and out through there. I've lost the majority of the family that on my dad's side. Um, and I loved everybody. I loved every one of them, and I wish I could have got to spend more time with them. But we've lost as a family. It's been like, bam, 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 and on top of that, I lost a friend from the prison. He well, I ain't gonna dishonor him. He passed away. Um, our grandma, or mom, Mama McGuire, in 12, and our papa, Woody, in 2006. I just got home. Um, and my Sue and Ruth, and I know I'm forgetting somebody, Jean, our cousin, and um, Lynn, Rita, and it's just so many that I got to sit here and try to recall them all. And it's so sad, but that's when you have these holidays. That's what, and that's what you think of, right? If it happens during the holiday, but don't let that. And I know it's easy to say, but just look at it as in terms of they're not gone; they just moved, right? Think of it that way. Rely on the Lord, um, and pray to Him, because He's listening, whether you think He is or not, whether you think you deserve it or not. Because if everybody listening, out of everybody listening, I don't. And there's a few of you that's watching right now, or were, that know exactly what I'm talking about. How bad I was, um, reckless and stupid, and just and um, but don't let that ruin your holidays. And don't be afraid to address your mental health issues if you have them. Nothing says you're not crazy. right? So when it bothers me a little bit, admittedly, when my wife is like, you could be having a regular bad day like anybody else, right? You could be having a bad day, and you get hit with, "Have you taken your medicine? You need to take your medicine." That upsets me so bad, you know. And I'm just like, look, I ain't crazy, right? I'm not crazy. Just because you say something that I feel like is dumb, right? And I say that, that doesn't mean I'm crazy or I need to take my medicine. That may mean you just need to stop saying dumb things. I mean, it, but it ain't. But there are times I can tell when I don't take my medicine, and I admit it, right? And went and got help. I broke down in the doctor's office. Like, it hit me all at one time, and you could talk to soldiers that have been in combat, like Davis. I mean, dude, would you deploy like 4 times, and then come home? And as law enforcement, I don't know what his personal feeling on that is, but being in law enforcement, you don't know who your target, you don't know who the enemy is, you don't know when it's going to happen. You're in a constant state of hyper awareness, like combat awareness. You day in and day out, adrenaline, day in and day out. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know when to expect it. You don't know how it's going to happen, and that it's awful. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it was really awful, and it's Davis's fault, was when we worked the same shift. Whew. When I'm telling you, oh my goodness, whew, that's all I could say. I mean, it was something. Yeah, and I was talking about him the other day. We were with these rookies, right? And they've got no clue, right? Um, we used to. I was telling them, I'm like, how many people did y'all arrest this month? And they'd be like, man, I did good. I got like 12. And I'm like, man, y'all are dumb. That's weak. Like, me and him got into this competition one time. I mean, it was, and there was another time that this dispatcher, and I'm going to end this. I want to end it on a funny note. But before I end it on this funny note, just know, reach out to somebody. Pay attention to what the signs are in your family or in your loved one. If they're withdrawn, if they are disengaged, if they start not caring about their appearance, if they start giving things away, if they start talking about death, if they, if they're trying to like distance themselves from you, make them talk to you. Pay attention to what the signs are. And don't be afraid if you're in law enforcement and listen to this, or a man or a woman. It is okay. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you crazy. It means that you are struggling and you need, sometimes it is okay to ask for help. It is. There's nothing wrong with it. You can ask for help. You can, if reach out to somebody that will talk to you and won't judge you, right? Um, and I am a Christian. I do love the Lord, and since I've come back, um, I'm not going to judge you. And I'm not going to say, if you call me and be like, look, dude, I mean, I'm struggling. Um, I'm not going to meet you and say, smack you on the head, like, well, you need Jesus. You know, you do need Jesus, but I'm not going to shove it up in your face while you're in this crisis. It is something you do lovingly. Um, Pay attention to each other, love each other, call each other, and ask how each other are doing. I'm just as guilty as everybody on that. I love all of my family, and I could do better. But to end with this funny story, there's plenty. Some of it I can't put on here, and the majority of it I can't put on here. I would say 99.99% I can't put on here. And I hope Davis is still watching. But me and him were on duty. I can't remember the circumstances. He probably does. I can't. But we were kind of just hanging around because me and him were really active together. And we were always out in the street. And we were never lazy, right? And there's Mardella. I just mentioned John. But we were never lazy. And we were out in the street. And Yeah, yeah, there you go. You did, that's right. No, we rely on our own guidance, and we were never equipped to be able to handle it. And that's where we fall ourselves. That's where we fault ourselves, or we shortchange ourselves. But Davis, anyway. So you remember, we're sitting in there, we're hanging out at the PD, and we're not doing much. And we had this dispatcher, and we this is a Christian thing. Like, I'm not, but we had this dispatcher was just nasty all the time, mean, just gossiping, and blah. And we were sitting there, and me and him both had I I don't know how many people that we had put in jail and deserving of it. But I would say that me and him, or he and I, were the two most active, and we competed a lot, but in fun, on the force. So you have that on a shift. And as a dispatcher, you probably should be quiet if they are like stationary and they're not working your guts out, right? But she was like, that's reason if I were going to commit a crime, I would do it right now. That's the reason why crime's so bad. Davis may know better, but that's the reason why crime's so bad. Y'all are here. Y'all aren't doing anything. That's what, and Davis looks at it, he was like, "What did you just say?" Right? And he said, "Let's go." So me and him went out. I can't remember. It was brutal, but I think between he and I, we had brought in like you may remember the number. Correct me if I am too high. But it was like 8, 9, 10 people within an hour that we'd arrested, and for legitimate arrests, right? We go out and we could work targeted things what we wanted, right? And even if it's driving offenses like no insurance, driving revoked, DUI, whatever. But we went out and arrested. It had to be 8, 9, or 10, maybe more people, and we stacked the arrests and stacked them on her. And I think Davis was the one that was like, "There, how's that?" Next time maybe keep your mouth shut. I mean, you got the two most active dudes in the department there, and you're like, "All right, we'll go work." She was sitting in there crying, and it wasn't funny that she was crying, but y'all had to know her. I mean, but you know, um, but pay attention to each other. Um, look out for each other. You know, I've not been shy about the issues that I've had. Um, and I don't want that to become a place anymore in the police department where it's like a high school football locker room. Um, oh, there's sweet lips. It's like a high school football locker room, and we know what that is. And you get mistreated um, as a rookie by people that like I just got out of the military and been through airborne school and all that stuff, and I had one of the detectives that probably weighed 400 pounds tell me to drop and do push-ups because he made me late on purpose. So my response to him was, "When you do one, I'll do 100," and he did not like that. But I mean, this ain't the high school football locker room. Like, we're not going to put up with that. And um, it's a real hard place, and they make fun of you, and they call you weak, and they call you the well, y'all know what the other word for weak is, and they make fun of you, call you names. And now, if they would tell you, if you go to a doctor, or you go to the lieutenant, the one that had the real big teeth, if you go to him and you're like, "Dude, look, I'm struggling for real. I'm struggling." He would look at you and he would say, "You're at, the P word." Didn't want to hear anything else, and would make fun of you. But and Davis can attest to John would never do that to you. In my opinion, when we lost him, that was the strongest sergeant we had. Um, talent and ability wise. And it was a struggle, because when you're there, you're new, nobody talks to you. Like, nobody trained me. Davis tried, but they wouldn't want us together. And John really didn't really care what they said. So, he taught me a whole lot. And I seen some of the things that John had to go through. And, personal things I'm not getting into, but I could see it in him. And we would talk to each other about that, and he'd be like, "Hey man, you good?" And I'm like, "Yeah." Because we'd all go through the same things as cops. I don't know what it is, but it's all the same thing. And, we get down and we get to, but he and I had talked about that quite a bit. And I'll just leave it at that. But you shouldn't be afraid of, there's Crystal. Haven't seen you in a while. I hope you're doing good. Ain't you supposed to be coming back? Ain't Mardell, am I right? But don't let that, don't let anybody devalue you. Don't let anybody tell you how you should feel in a situation. You may react to a loved one's death by continuing on with your life. Some people may pile up in the bed and just not get out. Allow those individuals to feel how they feel when they feel it. Quit trying to compare them or make them be normal in your definition of normal, and be kind to the people that we see that are struggling. And I've never been any better than anybody. I've never thought that. And I grew up with my own issues, and drink was, bad to hear lately. And if somebody's struggling with whatever it is they're struggling with, pray for them. Talk to them. I seen some, and I'm not slamming Christianity. Please don't take it that way. But I've seen some Christians mistreat, just downright disrespect and hateful. And, oh, you're back already. Good. But I've seen some people just downright just disrespect somebody that's on the street, somebody that is suffering from an addiction. And they just treat them like garbage. I don't think, or I know, that there's nowhere in the Bible where it talks about Jesus avoiding somebody because they weren't deserving. Right? Jesus was, you're going to eat with him. He's a sinner. You can't go over there and give her water. We don't associate with Samaritans. They're dogs to us. Jesus violated the social norms of his time. He was a rebel, right? He did not care what the religious crowd thought about his actions. He went to the people, I come to call the sinners and not the righteous to repentance. And you got to put yourself in a position, but for the grace of God, there go I, right? The next time you go by and you see somebody, and mark my words, Davis, you'll know who I'm talking about, but Kayla Thurman. I will get her in church at some point. I don't know why the Lord has laid her on my mind. I feel so sorry for her. Is nobody cares about her. It's just she's out there, and I know she might have a family that has, they have to disassociate with her because they can't deal with the heartbreak. But I will get her in church, and I will hopefully lead her to the Lord. She is just as deserving as any of us. And if there eventually, I know the people that are watching now aren't this way, but I know there will be some people that watch it later on. So if you're one of those people that watch it later on and you drive by somebody that is down on their luck, you drive by somebody that is struggling with an addiction, and you just come from church on a Sunday, and you in your little suit, you're like, man, I ain't stopping to talk to them. Ew. Yeah, that you are wrong, 100%, straight up and down, like 6 o'clock. You're wrong. You are no better than they are. You, but for the grace of God, would be right where they are. You do not treat people different. Um, you love them, and you somebody within my family had to sit and watch me drink and drink and drink after what happened to my dad, and you know you love them through that. And it came to a point to where it was like, hey, look, it's either A or B, and we've got to move on, one way or another. That's the way it was put, and I get that. But don't. I've went on. I don't even know how long I've been on here rambling. I'll lose track. Um, my dog went to sleep. He's like, man, you're still talking. Come here. Y'all see him back there? He's a good dog. He's a good boy. He's not as mean as he looks. But anyway, I've took up enough of y'all's time. I didn't even realize it's been an hour. I hope that didn't ramble too much. But the key takeaways that you need to take are: you're not broke if you are having issues. We all have addiction issues of some sort. Some people just don't have the guts to admit it. Um, you're not broke if you're in a mental health crisis. If you are right now thinking that is your only way out, you need to. Oh, you're coming Sunday. Oh, dinner. Oh goodness, I forgot about the dinner. Sunday at what time? 1:30. Whatever you want to bring. Davis, you're invited. Um, your wife, your kids. Well, I guess they're not kids now, but um, Haley, you and your family, if you want to come. Um, Jamie, you can come again. Debbie, Shannon, anybody and everybody that's listening to this. Just it don't matter if we don't even know you, but um, I love all of y'all. I really do. Davis, I've always thought a lot of you, and I've never told you that because it would always be kind of like weak. But I've thought of you as like a mentor. I really have, and in some things, and we all could use the help. If you haven't heard from somebody, check on them. Just go sit and visit. I'll be going down to the church here probably tomorrow, and then I'll probably go see Mardella and bug her, and then I'll go down and bug my grandpa. Um, but y'all bring whatever it is you want to bring. And we're doing it different this time with the servant and Mardella. Anyway, shut up, Christy. But I love all of y'all, and I can't wait to see you Sunday. It's going to be at the range, Davis, if you want to go. Um, Anybody that's listening, if you want to go, I'll have a short sermon, um, and about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll get into that, and then also we're going to start Sunday evening, with what was it, Christy? Do you even remember, Anna? Is Anna even on here? It is Romans 9 and 10. Is it 9 and 10? It's 9 and 10, right? Yeah, right. Romans 9 and 10. Y'all better be ready. Y'all done really good with that. But anyway, I love all of y'all. Take care of each other. Mental health is a big issue now, and this time of the year, it really is. And it's not one that you sleep on thinking it's everybody's merry, everybody's um people are suffering right now. People are suffering that have lost loved ones, that have lost their job, that haven't talked to their kids. There's enough evil out there. There's plenty of room for love. Um, just keep that in mind. Hopefully, if you were having insomnia, I put you to sleep. I love all of y'all. See y'all Sunday.